Hello everyone, myself Ritesh. I have 5 years of experience into data engineering and data analytics field. My key skills or key expertise are Power BI for reporting purpose, the database that is SQL, and I have also have expertise into Azure Cloud, which includes ETL, that is Azure Data Factory, ADLS, Logic Apps, and Databricks. I've been working for multiple MNCs since last 5 years. I've worked for retail, I've worked for automobile, and I've also worked for cloud and technological domains.
Now, yesterday we kind of completed how exactly the Power BI works. So we have gone through the basic understanding of Power BI desktop, how a Power BI desktop works, and what all components we have make it more simpler. So in Power BI desktop, it's a offline product. You have to download it. So I've asked you people to download the Power BI desktop. Once you download it, we have many components, whatever reporting, whatever modeling, and whatever complete development we are doing. So that development needs to be done in this Power BI desktop. Now, once that development is completed, there are certain sub components available in Power BI desktop. Now, once complete report development, modeling, and transformation is done, so that report is shared to the Power BI service. Now, what exactly service is? It's a online website or a portal. If we want to share this, whatever reports we have generated, whatever reports we have created, so we kind of have to use this Power BI service so that it can be shared with broader audience, so it might be end user, he may be any stakeholder. So we can share these aspects with end user, stakeholder, and whoever we want this report to be viewed as. Now, moving further, we have also seen what all components we have in the Power BI desktop. Now, what exactly Power Query is? Power Query is nothing but an inbuilt ETL tool available in the Power BI desktop or offline version itself. So how exactly Power Query looks, we are going to see it in the future. But to give you a basic understanding what exactly Power Query is, it's nothing but a ETL tool where you can transform your data. Now moving ahead to Power View. Now what exactly Power View is? In Power View, it's a reporting purpose or reporting purpose view where you can create all your visuals, where you can drag and drop all your visuals. Depending on that, we can, depending on the data or depending on the data set which we can create our reports. We can generate whatever views, we can generate whatever KPIs we want. So that can be done in the Power View. We have also seen what exactly Power Pivot is. In simpler way, if the data is in horizontal manner, we can convert it into vertical manner, and if the data is in vertical manner, we can convert it into horizontal manner. So Power Pivot is nothing but changing the view of data from standing to sleeping and from sleeping to standing. So kind of horizontal to vertical or vertical to horizontal manner. You can compare it with Excel. If you guys know Excel, you can compare this Power Pivot with Excel understanding. Also, we have an option called as pivot data in Microsoft Excel. So that is somewhat similar like Power Pivot in Power BI. Now coming ahead or going ahead, the other module present, the other entity present is Power Map. Now what exactly Power Map is? Whenever you create any map related visuals, map related KPIs, there the concept of Power Map kicks in. So Power Map is nothing but whenever you are trying to get the data from data set and create any visuals, there the Power BI or the Power BI Power Map comes into picture. So Power Map is nothing but whenever you are creating any map visuals, the Power Map is the important factor there. So this is I mean, the Power Map can be used in Power View itself. It is not a separate component. You cannot see it as a separate component in desktop version, the offline version, but we can use it in the Power View mode itself. Now combination of now going ahead, what is Power Q&A? So Power Q&A is nothing but it's a kind of AI tool, inbuilt AI tool available in the Power BI desktop itself, how a Power Q&A works. If you get certain data, if you're trying to get certain data from a data set, and you if you double click on any of the Power View white space there you would get an option what exactly Power QA is. You can write your question, and depending on the data, it would create or it would answer our questions. It would create a visual for that question being asked. So Power Q&A, it is nothing but an AI enabled system available in Power BI desktop. Now, the combination of all these services, what is Power Query, what Power Pivot, what Power View, what Power Map, and Power QA has, combination of all these services are combined together, which is nothing but Power BI desktop. So combination of 5 different services combined together to form this Power BI desktop. Now we kind of seen what is Power BI website. Power BI website is nothing but a Power BI service, which is an online service where you can share your reports. Sharing your reports, you cannot directly share the PBIX format. Yeah, you can share whatever reports you have created in the offline version, but if you want to view it in the correct manner, if you want to share it with broader audience, we can use the concept called as Power BI website. And at the end, there are Power BI mobile apps also. So this Power BI mobile apps can be used to view reports. We can also edit reports with the Power BI mobile app, but it is a kind of difficult. Why? Because on touchscreen systems, drag and drop is not that much easy. If you compare it with any pointer systems like our laptops where we use our mouse, a kind of easy to understand, easy to drag and drop visuals and create the reports. Whereas in case of mobile, it is kind of complicated. Now, why this Power BI mobile apps have been launched? In order to view reports on the mobile module also. The basic idea between or the basic idea behind the use of Power BI app is to view reports from a mobile application or a mobile representation as well. Now, moving ahead, I've asked you guys to download the Power BI desktop. Now, what exactly Power BI desktop is, we are going to see that. Once you download it, let me open the desktop version. If I go back and try to check. Now, this is the basic representation of Power BI desktop. Once you open the Power BI desktop, once you download it and open, the very first page looks in this manner. The very first page looks in this manner. Now, there are multiple components available here. What exactly multiple components are, we are going to see that. Let me first open the desktop version. So once you open this is the basic view. My suggestion or my recommendation is, nowadays the visualization and the data tabs which you can see here are all available in the rightmost corner here with the latest updates or introduction in the Power BI. So my sincere request or kindly request is, whenever you're trying to download any Power BI, once you go to this file option here and go to about, so about would give you a brief idea when was this version downloaded and what is the latest update. So this version is a kind of 2.118 June 2023 version. And my recommendation is, if you're trying to download any Power BI desktop version, use version prior to June. Anything prior to June. Why? Because if visualization and data tab are not available in the latest version, they are kind of available in the uppermost right corner here. So it would be a bit confusing for you guys to understand what exactly visualization and what exactly data tabs are. So whenever you are trying to download it, make sure that if you are trying to download it, the latest version, the visualization and data tab are all available towards the right of the Power BI starting page. This should be available here, not above this condition. Now, what exactly each product or each pane would give you an idea. Let's move back to the presentation. Now, here you might see a visualization pane. So what exactly visualization pane is? It is nothing but where we can get our by default visuals. So we kind of seen the difference between the Tableau and Power BI. So in Power BI, we had almost around 30 visuals, so 30 plus visuals. Now, if I try to count these visuals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 1 into 6 and 1 into 6, 6 into 6, 36, and plus these four visuals. So there are around 40 different by default available visuals in the Power BI. Now, if you see the last three or last four visuals, they are a kind of latest upgrade to Power BI. They are latest. I mean, the few visuals have been updated very recently into Power BI. One of the most benefit of Power BI is on every month, some or other updates are being made from Power BI community or Microsoft as a product. So every month we may get a certain new visual, or if not new visual, certain bugs have been upgraded. They are trying to upgrade themselves. So every month there are certain updates to Power BI desktop or Power BI versions. Now we kind of seen in Tableau we had only 27 by default visuals. Now if I want to search any visual out of these 30, 34 visual or 40 visuals which we have, if I want to search any visual out of these visuals in Power BI, what we do, you can see this three dots option available here. This would go to a workspace, this would go to a service, an online service where you can find more than 250 visuals. If you are not satisfied with the visuals available here, if you want some additional visual, you can click on these three dots and it would open a new pane, it would open a new window, kind of search window where you can find multiple visuals available there. Whereas in case of Tableau, if you compare it with Tableau, we have to write certain code if you want a visual apart from the default visuals. So we kind of have around 27 to 30 default visuals in Tableau. But apart from that visuals, if you want anything additional, you have to write a certain coding concept there. Now that is where the importance of Power BI came in, where you don't need any code. If you simply click on these three dots, it would open a different pane, a kind of browser pane where you can type whatever visual you're trying to check. Now, moving further, we have an option. If you check the complete horizontal bar here, so this is nothing but a ribbon bar. This is called as a ribbon bar. Now, what exactly ribbon bar is? Ribbon bar has multiple options present here. We have an option to get data. There are certain data by default sources available here. One is Excel, data lake, SQL Server, Dataverse. So there are multiple by default sources also reflecting here. And there's an option called as get data. Now what exactly this data tab means, we'll see it in the real time. So the above bar is called as a ribbon bar. If I go back to Power BI desktop, the first page here, we can see there are multiple options. There are multiple data sources available from where you can pull in the data. And if you click on more, it would open a new tab. So if you are on the all tab, by default, it's on the all tab. You can see there are many options available here. There are many options available here. Not only products of Microsoft, you can connect it with multiple cross products also, cross data sources also. If you can see, Excel is a product of Microsoft, SharePoint is a product of Microsoft, SQL Server is a product of Microsoft, Access database, these are all products of Microsoft. Now, if I go down, Oracle database, it's a cross product. It is not related to Microsoft. So you can use Oracle database also to get the data. You have an option to connect IBM DB2. Now, what exactly DB2 is? It's a kind of relational database management system, just like SQL Server. SQL Server is a product of Microsoft, and DB2 is a relational database developed by IBM. So it's a cross product. You can connect IBM products also here. Now, if I go down, we have an option to connect SAP HANA, SAP Business. So SAP is also a cross product. You can use SAP also to connect your data to Power BI. We have an option to connect Amazon Redshift. It's a NoSQL, a kind of NoSQL database or a storage system where we can store our data. So Amazon AWS service can also be connected. We have an option to connect Google BigQuery. So Google is also a cross product. It is not related to Microsoft. You can get data from Google as well. We have Snowflake. We have many other sources from where we can get the data. We have Salesforce related objects also. We have Adobe Analytics. So we can connect data from multiple sources within the Power BI, from Power BI itself. Now, if you compare it with the Tableau, Tableau has very few sources available to get connected. We have around 110 different sources in Power BI where you can get your data from. So one of the basic difference as compared to Tableau, in Power BI, we can connect many cross products as well, cross product data sources as well. If I go back to the representation again, so we kind of seen what exactly this above bar is called as. This is called as a ribbon bar. This is where the visualizations are stored. Now let's move on to filter bar. Now what exactly filter bar here is? The filtered bar or filter pane here is we get three different options available here. Now with the filter name itself, you can consider it is trying to filter out certain data. You can try to filter out certain data with the help of this filter tab. Now we have three different options available. One is filter on visual, the second is filter on page, and third is filter on all pages. Now I have said there are three options, but I can only see, you guys can only see filter on this page and filter on all pages. Now why filter on visual is not available? Once you get any visual, that filter on visual option would come into picture. Now, how does this filter page or filter pane is useful in Power BI? We are going to see that. Let's move back to the desktop. Now, what I'll do, I'll try to get some data. I'll try to get some data. So this is sample superstore data. So once this is opened, what I'll do, I'll try to click on load. So once the data is loaded in data tab, so you can see a table like structure here, a table like structure here. So in this table like structure, we have many columns present. We have many columns present. So in the sample superstore, we have many columns present here. Now we are kind of focusing on the filter tab. So let's see how does a filter tab look like. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a small column chart. Let's take this as a column chart. And what I'll do is I'll try to take some visuals. I'll try to pull in the some columns. Now, how exactly the filter on this visual? Now, if you have seen, if I remove this filter on page and filter on all pages, only two options are available in the filter tab. Whereas if I take this, where if I take any visual, filter on visual, a kind of magic you have seen, filter on visual option kicks in here. Why? Because we kind of created a visual and filter on visual option is available here. Now we kind of will try to cover two concepts here. If I go back to presentation, we will see what exactly filter pane is and we will see what exactly data pane is or data tab is. So in filter tab, we have seen filter on visual, filter on page and filter on all pages. Three different filters would be available. And in data tab, whatever you're trying to load data, whatever you're trying to get data, that data is loaded here and that data would be seen in the tabular format. So if you, for now, we have used that sample superstore, which has only one table. So we have seen only one table here. So, and if that data source or data set has multiple tables, we can see multiple tables name here. One table, table one, table two, table three. And for every table, we have a drop down. If you click on this drop down, it would open or it would give us what all columns it has in that table. Now, let's see how this data and filter tab will work together. If I go back to desktop, now what I've done is I've taken a data, the table format is available. If I click on this drop down, all the columns present in that table are visible here. I'll try to take sales in the y-axis and order date in the x-axis. Take quarters, month. So here if you see, the order date is in the x-axis, y-axis. Okay, if I'm trying to search, if I'm trying to filter out the data on certain categories only. Now what exactly categories are, what all columns we have in this data set, we are going to see it separately. But let's understand how a filter pane would work, if I want to search, if I take this segment, if I'm dragging this segment column to the filter on visual filter only, and we have a kind of three different filters available here. We kind of have three different filters available here. Now, if I use a line chart, it would give you a better understanding. And I'm trying to check only consumers. I'm trying to filter out the consumer segment only. You can see there is a certain change in the graphical representation. Why? Because I'm trying to filter out only consumer segment. Now, if I check corporate, there is a change in chart. There is a change in the line chart. And if I check home office, there is again change in the home office related segment. Now, if I want to select multiple, also multi-select option is also available. I can select two. And if I select all would be by defaultly selected. Now, this is how the importance of filter pane is. Filter pane can be used to filter out any specific data, any specific data. Now, we have other two options. What is filter on page and what is filter on all pages? So if we are trying to use this segment as a filter, if we have multiple visuals available here, I'm trying to create multiple visuals and I want to filter out that segment on the complete page. Now we can drag and drop this segment here, get this segment here. With this filter on page, you can filter this segment on the complete page. If there are multiple visuals present here, we are going to see it in real time, but to give an understanding, if there are two or three different visuals available in this one single page, and if you are trying to get segment, or if you are trying to filter on this page as a segment for consumers, all the visuals would be affected in one go. All the visuals will be affected in one go. And similarly, filter on all pages, if we have multiple pages available here, filter on all pages. If you have a report where there are two or three different pages and they have every page has multiple visuals, if you get this segment here downstairs in the filter on all pages, so on all pages this filter would be applied. So we kind of have three different visuals, three different filters. Now only you can see filter on all pages and filter on this page. Why? Because we haven't selected any visual. If you select visual, filter on visual also comes up. So filter on visual, it filters the data on only that specific visual. Filter on page, it would filter all the visuals present on this page. Now let's take this with an example. I'll take one more example here. I'll take one more visual as an area chart. So I'm trying to take sales again in the y-axis and subcategory in the x-axis. So we kind of have two different visuals. And if I want to use segment, if I want to use segment on this complete page, if I click on any white space here, I haven't selected neither of the visual. So segment, we kind of drag and drop, filter on this page, consumer. Now you see both the charts are changing. Both the charts are changing. So this is how filter on this page would work. And filter on all pages, if we have multiple pages where there are multiple KPIs present on each page, we can use it. We can similarly use that segment here and filter on all pages. We are going to see it in real time, but how a filter page would work, this is how it should work. And when this filter on visual option comes in, if you select any visual, filter on this visual. If you select this visual, we kind of haven't used any segment here. Now, by default, whenever you select a visual, whatever columns you are dragging and dropping from the data set, that two columns would be available on this filter on visual by defaultly. Apart from this, if you want to filter anything, you can select that. Apart from this, if you want to filter anything, you can select that. You can also select the subcategory art. It would kind of look different, but I'm trying to use segment as a filter condition. Now, if I select corporate, this is filter on this visual only. So it is trying to select only corporate on this visual. The other visual is not changing because we are not using filter on the page. We are only using filter on this specific visual. Now, this is how the filter condition would work in Power BI. We have seen how to get data. And once you get that data would be available in the data tab here. Now, if I go back to the presentation, so in the ribbon bar, we have multiple options available. If I try to point out, there are multiple options available here in the ribbon bar, and there are multiple sub options also here. Now, what exactly these sub options are, we would see in future, but by default in home tab, we have many options for data. So depending on your usage, we get whatever data source you are trying to select or whatever data source you're trying to use it on frequent basis, that data source would be available here. Excel is one of the most widely used. So by default, it is kept here. If you go to get data and again select Excel, they are nothing but they are completely same. There isn't any much difference. We have an option which is called as queries. Now we have seen an example of Power Query. what exactly Power Query is. So how to go back to Power Query, that can be done with the help of transform data. So what exactly transform data is? If you compare it, Power Query is nothing but an inbuilt ETL tool available in the Power BI desktop. Now, ETL is nothing but extracting, transforming, and loading the data. So transformation can be done with the help of Power Query. So that transformation, that is transform data, if you click on this, it would open a new tab. It would open in a new different window. So that window, you can transform your data. You can perform certain transformations, certain logic changes can be done in that window. Now this refresh option is grayed out. Now, why is it grayed out? Because we don't have any data. Once you get the data, that refresh option would be enabled. Refresh is nothing but refresh the tables or refresh the records present in the table or a complete data set. We have insert option here. We kind of have to insert any new visual. You can drag and drop a visual, or else if you click on this new visual also, it would give us some suggestions. We have an option for calculation. Now what exactly measures, what exactly calculated columns are, we would see in the advanced topic, but this is a calculation pane. Here we also have an option to share. Share is nothing but where we have seen the concept of Power BI service. If you have created a report and if you want to share your reports, you can use the share option or publish to publish it to Power BI service or a online version where you can share your reports and that reports can be viewed for the broader audience. I remove them. Now we also have an option. We have three different icons available here. Now what all these three different icons are? The first icon is a report view or a visual view. Report or a visual view. So what exactly report view is? Whatever reports or whatever KPIs you are trying to create it here, by default, this view is selected. In this view, you can visual your reports. Now the second view, it looks like a table. Now second view is nothing but a table view or a table format. Whatever data you have loaded from any data source, if you want to check the data present there, you can view that data with the help of this table view. Now how does a table view look like? We will see it. And at the end, there is the last option. Here you might find something like this. There are certain, now let's assume this as a table 1, this as table 2, and this is table 3. So table 1 is related to table 2, table 1 is related to table 3. So there is a kind of connection, there is a kind of relationship, there is a kind of modeling present between these two tabs. Now how exactly modeling view? We have to model the data. In Power BI, we may not get data from only one different table or one different data source. We may get data from multiple sources. We have to make sure that data is related to some other data. So if we have any 5 different tables, so there has to be some relationship between these 5 tables. In advanced lectures, we are going to see what exactly modeling is and how to perform a modeling. We'll go back, we'll head back to the Power BI desktop and let's see how all these visuals look like. Now here by default, we are in the report view. Now in this data tab, we are only seeing the columns present in the sample superstore dataset. We are not able to see the values or records present in there. Now, how do we check that? If I go to data view, if I'm trying to select, if there are multiple tables, you can select whatever table you want and all the columns present in that table would be available here. The records present in that table would be available here. You can check all the data here. And in the last tab, which is nothing but a model view, in model view, you can model your data. You can create relationships. Now, how to create a relationship that we will see, but this manage relationship tab is a kind of grayed out. Why? Because we only have one table. You cannot create a relationship within the table. There has to be some other table where you can create a relationship between that two tables using a similar column. Now here the concept of joins kicks in, the concept of SQL joins kicks in. How does the relationship would work? We will see it in the future or we'll see it in the advanced lecture. Now heading back to the report view again, we have seen how to get data. We kind of got data for a sample superstore. Now what exactly this sample superstore is? What data it has? For a data analyst, it is most important, it is very important to go back and see what all data we have or whatever data we are trying to get from a data source. We need to understand that data. We have to understand what data it has, how is it behaving, and depending on that, it would be very easy if you understand that data to create reports. What is our report requirement? It would be very easy to understand once you get what kind of data you're trying to fetch from the data source. Now, at times, we might get data from online applications. That online application is not directly available. We have to get data it in the Power BI and in the data tab. So let's assume that you're trying to get data from SQL Server and you don't have access to that SQL Server. Only you have view access. Now, what we have to do, get that data to Power BI and go to this data view mode and then select that SQL Server, whatever table you have loaded, and see the data, what all columns we have. You can go back and search. Yeah, these are the number of columns. Every column has certain values presented in, and what does this value recommend or what does this value convey? That is how a data analyst has to play a role. He has to go back and check the data. For now, we kind of used an Excel workbook or Excel sheet, which is in our local systems. So we'll go back and see, we'll try to see what all data we have in that CSV file. If I'm trying to open this, let me expand the columns. Now let's go one by one. We will try to understand what all records we have it here. Now row ID is a kind of unique ID. It's an unique ID, nothing much. If I go ahead, if I move ahead to order ID, now what exactly order ID here is? Order ID is a unique ID. For every order, it has to be unique. So you may not see this order ID repeated anywhere. How can we check? It's an Excel format. Now, if you see here, not even a single order ID is repeated. Now, if this order ID, let's assume that 2016 CA 2016 1 4 times 06 is repeated, that condition would be appearing here. Some two number or two numerical digit would be appeared. Why? Because it is report. If it is duplicate, if it is repeating, a two number replication would be available here. But there isn't a single record which is replicated or which is duplicated here. So we have to make sure that for every orders, if you compare it with Amazon also, for every order ID has to be unique. It has to be unique. Now, how does this order ID look like and what all features it has? We will going to see it in the other columns. Now, if I move ahead to the order date and shipment date, now, let's assume that order date is when you placed an order and shipment date is when the order is going to dispatch from a data warehouse or a warehouse. Now, we are kind of using a data. So I've used this word data warehouse, but wherever, if you are trying to order something from any website, from any shop, in that case, order date is different on the date which you placed an order, and shipment date, there may be difference between the shipment date and order date. Now, what exactly this order date and shipment date has, we'll first move it to the next column, which is nothing but shipment mode. If I drop down, there are four different shipment modes. Now you can compare it with Amazon. We have a concept called as Amazon Prime. Now, what exactly Amazon Prime is? For a Prime customer, we kind of get our products on a early basis. We kind of get a privilege, we kind of get a premium service, that if you're trying to purchase a product, if you're trying to order a product, that product would be delivered very fastly as compared to a normal customer. So if a normal customer, it is taking for 5 days or 6 days to ship that product and another 2 days to reach it to your mode or to reach it to your address. In case of premium or a prime customer in Amazon, what if you are a premium customer, what it does is, if you are trying to place an order, maybe on the very same day or maybe in 2 or 3 days, you will get that product as compared to a normal user. Now, similar concept can be applied here. Now, let's see what exactly standard class is. So, order date and shipment date are 18th of March 2016 and 23rd of March 2016. So, there is a gap of 5 different days here. For a standard class, you may assume that there is a gap of 5 different days. Now, if I move ahead in the standard class itself, order date is around 2nd of October and 9th of October. There is a gap of 7 days. There is a gap of 7 days. So ideally, we may assume for a standard class, order date and shipment date, there has to be a gap of 5 days. Let's assume that there has to be a gap of minimum 5 days. Let me take a notepad. So for a normal customer, there has to be a gap of 5 different days. Now, if I see order date and shipment date for first class, 23rd is the order date and 25th is the shipment date. There is a gap of 2 days only. Okay. So we assume that for first class people, there won't be much gap. Within 2 days, the order would be shipped. Now let's see for second class. So for second class, 2nd of February and 4th of February. So there is again a gap of 2 days only. Let's take some other record. Now here is again second. Okay, we have some other records. So let's assume that first class and second class people, they are kind of getting a priority that within 2 days their products are delivered or their products are shipped within the order time. If you're ordering on one day, if you're ordering it on a specific day, so within 2 days, as first class customer or second class customer, that product would be shipped. But whereas for a standard class, minimum 5 days gap is there. Now we kind of gone through four first class. Okay, we kind of gone through three: first class, second class, and standard class. Now let's take an example of same day. Where can I found? Yeah. So for same day, if he has ordered on the 4th of November and on the very same day that product is shipped. So kind of premium service is available for a same day shipment mode type. So these are four different types. Now, if I go ahead, there is a concept, there is a column called as customer ID. So what exactly this customer ID is, we'll try to get that. We'll first see what exactly customer name. So the customer name is Scene Miller here. So the second name is Tamara Chand. Third name is Raymond Butch. Now, for customer ID, it is trying to, it's a combination of character as well as numerical concept. It's a combination of character as well as numerical value. Now, that what that character signifies, it is kind of taking customer initials. Scene Miller SM. So Tamara Chan TC. Raymond Butch RB. It is kind of taking initials of that customer and a unique ID and a unique numerical ID. So customer ID has also is also a unique ID. So there are no duplicates. So if you see, each and every record is only present uniquely or only once. Now if I move ahead, the column segment, if I try to filter out, there are three different segments available here. Now what exactly this segment convey? Let me take an example. So let's assume that I want to purchase, I personally want to purchase. So there's a person called as ABC. Let's assume that this ABC person has to purchase a product, has to purchase a laptop. So what he's trying to purchase is kind of trying to purchase a laptop. He will only purchase for his own use, that is for single use or an individual use. Now what exactly individual use is? He's trying to purchase only for single consumer or a single product. So if I check it with segment, we may call it as a consumer. He's trying to purchase only for him. We may call it as a consumer. Now let's take another example. If I'm trying to purchase a product, if I'm trying to purchase laptop for KSR, now ABC is a single individual. Now what exactly KSR is? It's a kind of training institute or a coaching institute. So for KSR, would I go and purchase only single laptop or a computer? I may purchase 4 or 5. I may purchase 4 or 5 laptops for a complete set of team. So for coaching institute, I may purchase more than one laptop. So we can assume this as a, if you compare it with segment, we can assume this as a home office. Let's assume this as a home office. Now let's take an example of any large scale company, any product based company or a service based company. I'll take an example of Infosys. So if Infosys is trying to purchase, it's a kind of corporate. So for Infosys, if I'm trying to purchase, would I purchase 4 and 5 laptops? No, I would go and purchase more than more than double digit laptops, kind of double digit or more than that. So in that case, we call it as a corporate. We call it as a corporate, more than double digit count. So we kind of call it as a corporate. So if you combine it, if you compare it with the segment, home office where you're trying to purchase more than one but less than double digit. Corporate is where you're trying to purchase more than one but more than double digit also. And consumer is one where you're trying to purchase for only one specific individual. Now I kind of downloaded this data and I know this data. For that reason, I've given you that example. Now let's move ahead to the other columns here. Now we have a column called as country, region, city, state, postal code. So these four columns or five columns, including region, these are free flow columns. Now, what exactly free flow columns is? With these columns, you can understand that so and so person, so and so customer, or so and so customer name, or this customer is coming from so and so country, which city is a part of, which state is a part of, what is his postal code, and which region he belongs to. So these can be easily identified or these can be easily understandable. Now let's move ahead to the other columns present. If I make this view, we kind of completed region. Now the other column is product ID. Now to understand product ID, it is again a combination of varchar, that is characters as well as numerical. In order to understand, let's check the other columns. Now what exactly category and what exactly subcategories? Now in categories and what exactly the product name is. Now if you're trying to select this product, Cisco telepresence system, it's a kind of video conferring unit. It's a technical device or a electronic device. So this electronic device belongs to machine subcategory, and that machines are a part of technology as a category. The second one is Canon image copier. So image copier is a kind of copier category and it belongs to again technology. So this is how the data is bifurcated in this sample superstore: category, subcategory, and a product name. We have binders here. Now what exactly binders are? A kind of stationary products. So they belong to part of or they are a part of office supplies. Now we have furnitures also. We have technology, office supplies, and furnitures as a category. And in subcategory, we have many such options. There are many subcategories. Now, if I'm trying to check furniture, yeah, here you might see the yellow color. Chairs are a kind of subcategory and it is a furniture category. Bookcases is a kind of furniture again itself, a wooden furniture, where it belongs to furniture as a category. Now with this product ID is determined. Now here product ID is duplicated. You may see product ID is duplicated. Why? Because one person can purchase that product and some other person can again purchase that similar product. So here the product ID is unique, but it is kind of repeating because Tamara Chand has tried to purchase copiers and Raymond Butch again has tried to purchase the same copiers, the same product, the same copiers, that which is a Canon copier. The product name is Canon copier. For that reason, this product ID is repeated. It is unique for each product, but it is repeating. Why? Because different customers are purchasing. Different customers are purchasing. Now, if I move ahead, product ID is a combination of category and subcategory with the unique ID for each of the product. So TECMA, nothing but technology and machines. TECCO, technology and copiers. For office supplies and binders, OFF and BI. So this is how the product ID is generated here in this data set. And if I move ahead to the last columns, which are nothing but sales, quantity, and discount. Now, what exactly sales is? Sales is the total sales. If this product there are 6 quantities have been purchased or there are 6 quantities have been sold for this product, they kind of generated, this is the amount of sales they are kind of generated. And discount is nothing but they are kind of given a discount, a specific discount to each product. So a combination or aggregation of that discount is taken place and the total profit. Now what exactly profit is? The revenue generated by selling this product. Sales is total amount, whereas revenue is nothing but a profit on that specific entity or a product. Now for this, they kind of made a loss here. For that reason, it is reflected as a negative value. But for other thing, it is kind of reflecting as a null value. Sorry, a kind of different value here. Let me uncheck it. Why is it taking? Not sure. Yeah. But for this copiers, technology copiers, they kind of made a profit of 8399. So these columns are a purely important columns. We have gone through each and every column from the start, but at the end, these four columns are way more important because we are trying to focus on the amount or revenue being generated by selling all these products. So these are the most important columns. Now, this is how the data analyst has to go back and see what all data we have or what all data we are trying to load it in the Power BI. Now, this is the importance of data analyst, or very important for a data analyst who has to go back and check the data. Now, once we kind of loaded this data, let's head over to Power BI. I'll try to delete this. Let me open it again. Now, if I want to, I'll ask this question to the Excel experts present in this group. If I want to get the sales, get the total sales by each segment, how do we do that? So usually we go to Insert tab, we kind of create a pivot table here. So in pivot table, what I do, I'll try to take sales. Okay. First, I'll try to take segment. Segment should be in rows, and sales. Now, where is the sales? Yeah, sales should be in the values. Now, this is how you would calculate the sales by each segment. So we kind of took very few seconds to get this generated or get this total view. We can also create charts in Excel. But in Excel, one drawback is you have to go back and create, or I mean, we kind of created a pivot table, it has given a different sheet. And if you share this sheet, we kind of created a visual also. We can create visuals also, a pivot chart, and whatever chart you want, you can create that chart also. And once you create that and you share it with the end user, he has to personally download it, or he has to access it online and check where that table is present. He has to go back and search what all sub tabs are available. Now that concept has been eliminated in the Power BI. You can directly visualize your data. Now Power BI is nothing but an upgraded version of Microsoft Excel. It is nothing but an upgraded version of Microsoft Excel. How we do that? We already taken that data. I want sum of sales by each segment. Now what I'll do, I'll try to create a column chart here. In x-axis, what I'll do, I'll try to take sum of sales by each segment. So sales would be in y-axis, and in x-axis, I'll try to get the segment. Now, if I check here, we have sum of sales for each segment. So if you compare it with Excel also, Power BI is way more easier. Within few milliseconds, we have generated this complete visual. Now, in visualization pane, there are three different tabs available. One is the get your data or add your data to visual, where you can add, there are multiple sub options, there are multiple options, legend, small multiples. Now what all these convey, we'll again see it in the advanced lectures, but let's go to the second tab. Now what exactly second tab is? Format your visual. Now one thing, take it in mind that whenever you are trying to create a report, the most important aspect is focus on the visibility of the report. Now, if you check consumer, corporate, and office, these segments, home office, these segments are kind of very light in color and they are not even visible. We may close all these tabs, even then we are using only one chart. If I compress it, they are very low for visibility. Now what I'll do is I am going to this format tab. You can change the font of this visuals or font of the words which being called here. Now if I go to x-axis, I'll increase the length. This is the x-axis. This is x-axis and this is y-axis. So in x-axis, what I'll do, I'll select, I'll try to increase the font. So you can increase the font here. You can use bold also. It would look more familiar. And I want to change the title. Title is segment here. I want to change the title of segment. So what I'll do, I'll try to keep the font same again here. The font is DIN and font is CQUI. Now, the important thing in reporting is make sure that all the fonts are of same format. I'll make it, and this is how this segment would be highlighted. If I want to change the color, I would change the color. The color of segment is changed. So title of x-axis, where you would change the segment related, because we are trying to pull in the segment data in the x-axis. Now, similar would be available for y-axis. In y-axis, we have an option called as minimum and maximum. What does this convey? Minimum is nothing but from where it is starting, and maximum is nothing but where it is ending. So it is auto. We have to change. If you want, you can change it. Now we kind of used 1, and if we are trying to use maximum as 10 here, you can see there is a change in graphs. Now what exactly this convey? We'll again make it to auto itself. We'll again make it to auto itself. So it would be way more easier. X-axis, I'll keep it as auto because it is easier to understand. Let's move back to values. Now I want to change the values of y-axis also. I want to increase the font. Now y-axis values are also increased to 13. The font is again same. I want to change the display units. So M is nothing but millions. Auto, it is selected as by defaultly millions. If you select on none, the total sales by segment values would be available. If I change it to 1000, in terms of 1000, that values would come here. If I change it to millions, in millions, that values would come here. So this is nothing but a kind of display units in billions, in trillions. So the maximum limit is trillions. So this is kind of more intuitive. I'll keep it as none. You can use decimal points also. You can increase the pointer. And if you want to change the title for y-axis, I'll change it to the same font size, same font type, and font size is 13, and color I'll make it same. So sum of sales and segment are matching. This is y-axis and this is x-axis. There are many such lines available here: columns, grid lines, zoom sliders, data labels. Now let's see what exactly data label means. Now, once I click on this data label, there are kind of labels available for each. Now, if I uncheck or off this, for every time I have to go back on the bar and hover on it to get sum of sales by segment. I only directly want to see that sales. Yeah, in y-axis I'm able to see, but the exact count I want to see. So I open this data label, that data labels would be available. And we can change the data labels also. You can change inside end. It would be visible in the inside end. You can change it outside. It would be visible in the outside. Inside center, center in the center, it would be visible, and inside base at the bottommost level, the values would be visible. You can place it vertically also. You can place it horizontally also. So with this data label, you can make sure that labels are added to each of the segment. Now there are many other options. We'll see it in the future, but for this, more than enough. X-axis and y-axis. How do we format the data? How do we format the visuals? How do we format the fonts present in these visuals? Now, if I go back to the third tab in analyze also, there's a third tab in the visualization, which is nothing but analyze. This is used for advanced purpose. The exact use case we would see in the future lectures whenever we get this analyze, whenever the use of analyze comes into picture, but it is a kind of advanced purpose. And how does it differ if I try to change this visual for This is the stacked column chart. And if you go to analyze, there are only two options. If I change this visual to line chart, and if I go back to analyze, there are many different options available. Now, what is min line? What is max line? What is average, median line? You have to give certain values to it. You can add a line and see somewhere you are getting this line. So we will see it in the future. How does it look like? But analyze is a kind of advanced version or advanced concept available in the visualization. So depending on what visual you select, analyze tab would have that many options available depending on the visual. Now in the format visual also, there's another tab called as general. So in general, we may get what properties of that visual is, what is the height, what is the width. If I try to change it, the height and width would be changed here. So it is automatically calculated. The most important thing here is title. Now what is title? Sum of sales by segment. So I don't want the sum of sales by segment. What I'll do, I'll try to copy it. Sales by segment. That's it. So this is changed here. I want to change the font again to Sego UI, the same font I'm trying to keep. And I want to change the position. I want to keep it in the middle. Now I can change the text color also. What I'll do, I'll try to create a background for it. Now in this background, text color black is not that intuitive or not that clearly visible. I'll make it to white and I'll keep it as bold. Now this looks more perfect. Now this is how a title pane would come into picture, and you can, there are certain headings also. There isn't much difference, but depending on the whatever font you are trying to select, that heading format would be changed. So by default, we kind of selected heading 2. There is subtitle also. If you open this, you can add a subtitle option. There's a divider. Uh, there are multiple other options available in the title, but the most important thing is if you want to change the title of that KPI or title of that visual, you can change it easily. Yeah, so this is how the Power BI would work. We kind of got a data from our local system, and we have seen how to create a visual, basic understanding, how to format the fonts, how to format the colors. We have seen that in the visualization pane itself. We kind of completed what is the use of filters, how to use that filter. We have seen 3 different views here: report view, data view, and model view. For today, we are good to go. We'll continue our discussion tomorrow.